Hold up. Let me hit record first. Okay, it's recording. I'm just gonna talk
Do you
about.
want to wait till other people come on?
Oh no, it's good. We should start at 7. And this seems like a new crowd. Usually, it's been kind of repeaters every week. I'm just gonna talk about. I just go over myself at a high level, but I just want to talk about the pros and cons of commercial real estate. But since it's such a small group, maybe we just can go around, introduce ourselves, and our experience of real estate. What's our goal? I guess starting with you, Kevin, since you're already on.
Yeah, I'm commercial mortgage broker, so I specialize in commercial real estate lending. Based here in Los Angeles, and been in the business for like 7 years.
Okay.
So I do a lot of real estate financing on commercial side, but I actually haven't bought anything commercial. I own single family homes, short term rental properties, but I really wanted to, get into multis, and that's really, all I do in terms of my business. So I know the numbers very well. I just haven't kind of thrown myself into the ownership side of it.
Oh no, that's great. Yeah, it's a different mentality when you own it yourself versus like when you help people, whether you're a real estate broker or like a mortgage broker. So yeah,
Yeah.
great to see you come to the other side.
Well, you know what it was is that for the longest time I had this idea that I only wanted to buy locally, and being in LA, deals are expensive and they're hard to get good ones. So I was very resistant to looking outside of the LA market for a long time. But, I kind of came around to buying outside the market, out of state, because that's really the only way you can get in this game. Otherwise, sitting on your hands and trying to find a good deal in LA, it's not going to happen.
For sure. Cool. Thanks for that introduction. Yeah, I was the same way. I started in the Bay Area. I own
Yeah.
single families in the Bay Area as well as LA, and like everything's $1 million, right? So, my apartments in Oklahoma are like less than half a million, and that gets you like a condo. So I can share about that later. Anyone else? Tony, you want to talk about yourself? Oops, I think you're on mute.
There you go. So, yes, I'm new to the real estate game. Really kind of invested a lot of more time and effort about a good 4 or 5 months ago.
Okay.
So, like Kevin said, and yourself, networking as well.
Awesome. Cool. Sounds great. Alice?
And that's the reason why I joined.
Awesome. No, small world. I went to Milpitas High School, class of 2008.
Really? Oh, wow.
So I aged myself there, but but yeah, my parents live on Calaveras, so I'm pretty familiar.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay,
with
cool.
with that area. So that's where I grew up. So
Cool.
great, Anthony.
I thought I was gonna be lurking in the background here.
No, I made
It's
everyone
such a
come out
small
because it's such a
turnout.
small group.
Yeah, there's no.
Awesome.
Yeah,
So by multifamily, I'm assuming it's a triplex or like a
yeah.
fourplex. Okay,
Try.
because yeah, for me, I guess I say multifamily it's 5+ units in my mind. I
Okay.
consider 1 through 4 residential. Just they're kind of lumped together, but no, that's a great starting point. I mean, I started off single family home too, right? And then, but once you go to commercial, like it blows your mind. Like,
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, all these are conventional loans that I got
mhm,
with hefty down payments, 25%.
yeah.
Up front. I think 5 or more are commercial loans. We weren't set up to do that yet, but that's something we're gonna look to move towards.
All right, sounds great, and thank you, Anthony.
All right.
And I guess lastly, Charmaine. I mean, I know you, but maybe introduce yourself.
So
Yeah. Full disclosure, Charmaine is in my course, but I can't take credit for that 35 unit. She literally got it in a month, um, just by attending a couple of these sessions. So she's definitely more inclined towards taking action without much information. And to be honest, that's kind of like me myself, and that's where the most successful real estate investors are. Right? You just learn by doing. You can learn and listen all you want, but you learn the most by taking action, right? And by failing. And I had my fair share of failure, so that's what I kind of accumulated in my course. But since most people here are new at a high level, from the Bay Area as well, Milpitas specifically, if you guys know, just relocated to Los Angeles. Both high markets. I'm a pharmacy director by day, so that's my day job. So high income W-2, came out with $250,000 of student debt. Spent the first 4 years of my life paying off my student debt. Climbed up the pharmacy career ladder and hit my ceiling and realized this is it. I make as much as a tech bro in the Bay Area about student loans and without the stock options. So, for me, I get bored really easily. So, once I kind of do one thing, I move on to the next. So I just kind of dived into real estate organically. I just bought like a single family home. I house hacked it. So I bought a house in Livermore for $800,000, down 10%. I lived in the master bedroom, rented out 3 other bedrooms. And then I did that almost every year for like 2, 3 years. So I bought a home in San Francisco, same thing, rented out rooms. Um, and then I bought one in Milpitas, same thing, rented out rooms. And my goal was to do one single family home a year for 10 years. And that was my goal to like retire. But I quickly realized with single family homes, like, I'm breaking even in California, to be honest. I'm self managing these properties. I'm breaking even. That's not including any maintenance, any capex. It's just literally me owning it. I mean, they appreciate very well. I can't complain. Like my home in Livermore, I bought in 2017 for 800,000. It's probably worth about $1.2 million now in about 5 years. So that's what $400,000 of equity. I mean, that's a lot, right? I'm not gonna scoff at that, but if I don't have cash flow, I can't leave my day job, right? I can't leave my high income W-2. So just like you guys, I was afraid to go out of state. So in a weird way, I just stumbled across this like brand new construction home in Alabama, Huntsville, Alabama, if you guys are familiar. And it was literally $260,000, brand new, no bidding, and it rents for 2,100. So I was like, wow, that's pretty good, right? I was cash flowing $80 a month on that property, and it's a brand new construction. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna pivot. I'm gonna buy a bunch of these single family homes in Huntsville, Alabama, and eventually retire once I hit 20K a month passive income. But shortly after that, it just kind of expanded my horizon. Like I literally bought this house without even seeing it, without ever being in Alabama. But I looked at some like metrics online. It had good population growth, it had good job growth, and it was low in crime, right? So to me, I felt comfortable, and then I leveraged a property manager, say, hey, like, how's the area? And the property manager actually brought me the deal. So that kind of expanded my horizon a little bit, and then after that, I just said, well, this is great, but it's not scalable, right? Like, how do I scale this? Like, I want to retire faster. I want to retire by 35, in like a couple years. So, when I just started looking at LoopNet, and then I just chose random markets. I just happened to choose Oklahoma. I don't know why. It just was next to Texas. I was just like, all right, let's look next to Texas. And, I looked on LoopNet and I saw like, wait, for $1 million, I can get a 30-unit apartment complex. Like I'm buying a single family home in California for $1 million. It's one unit. If it's vacant, I get $0. But for $1 million, I can get a 30-unit apartment complex. If one unit's vacant, I still have 29 units paying me, right? So you have the economies of scale. So that really piqued my interest. And then, so what I started doing is I quickly learned by going on LoopNet that, like, number one, the brokers don't take you seriously. Number two, lenders don't take you seriously because you have no experience, you have no track record. Number three, if you're trying to syndicate and raise money, no one's gonna take you seriously because you don't have a track record. Why would I give you $100,000 if you never own an apartment complex, right? Like, there's so many other operators out there. Why would I trust you? And then, lastly, number four, after I underwrote about 100 deals on LoopNet, I quickly realized all the deals were garbage, right? Like all the deals that brokers brought to me have never been good, right? I mean, Charmaine might be the exception. She found a good deal on LoopNet, but for me, I never got a great deal brought to me by a broker, by a wholesaler, because they fabricate the numbers, right? They so kind of taking a step back for everyone here. So single family home is valued based on sales comps. So if you have a one unit, duplex, triplex, fourplex, it doesn't matter how much rent you get. You can get $10,000 a month in rent. You can get $20,000 a month in rent. It doesn't matter. The value is based on sales comp. So if, let's say I have a single family home that rents for 5,000, and Tony has a single family home that rents for 20,000. When we sell our property, they sell for the same price. It doesn't matter how much rent you get. But with 5+ units, it's valued based on the net operating income divided by the market cap rate. So that means the net operating income stands for income minus expense. So the higher your income, the lower your expenses, the property value is worth more. So if you were to take that same example, I have a 20 unit apartment complex with an NOI of 10,000 and a 20 unit apartment complex with an NOI of 40,000. The one with a $40,000 NOI is worth double the apartment that's only getting NOI of 20,000. So once I learned that concept, that blew my mind. I just said I can essentially raise rents and force appreciation without doing anything, right? So once you understand that basic concept, you'll never buy a single family home again unless it's just for your personal use, right? But I can't knock on single families. That's where I got started, right? I got started in single family. It's it's the least intimidating, right? Versus jumping into like a 30 unit apartment complex. If you ask me, if you ask Charmaine, like, did I ever think I'd own an apartment? I'd say no. It seems so intimidating, something that only rich people own, right? So once I kind of learned that, I just said, well, okay, I want to buy an apartment, but all these deals on LoopNet are terrible. Brokers are bringing me bad deals. Wholesalers are bringing me bad deals. Like, what do I do? Do I just give up? So, the answer is no. You have to generate off-market leads, right? So, there's like 5 ways to generate, or 4 ways to generate off-market leads. Can do direct mailing, you can do cold call, you can do cold text, you can do cold email. Out of these four, I only like cold direct mailing because honestly, cold call, cold text, cold email, people just treat it like spam. Like I get so many, like even to this day, I get so many text messages. And technically, it's illegal to cold text people. I forgot there's some type of regulation out there. But I like letters because like if someone spent the time to like literally open your letter and read it, they're more likely to like call you. So I started a direct mail campaign, and I use PropStream for my data, as Charmaine alluded to, and I use Yellow Letters Complete to outsource my letters. So in a shameless plug for my course, yeah, I do provide step by step on how to use PropStream, how to save your criteria. I have my letter templates, what all that stuff, kind of A through Z system on what to do. But the point of the letters is to basically get attention for people to open it. So what I did was I sent about 300 letters a month for about 6 months. I sent about 1,800 letters, and you get about 3% response rate. So if I send 300 letters, about 10 people will actually call me. And for reference, it's about $450 a month on just my mailing campaign. So like that's what you have to afford, right? You have to be able to afford $450 a month to send out letters. And if you can't do that, then it sounds kind of harsh, but like you shouldn't be doing commercial real estate, right? Like this is where the big boys play. Like, if you can't afford $450 a month, you shouldn't be doing this, right? In my mind, it's pretty inexpensive. Um, and so for kind of answering Kevin's question, I do. So what I do is I hit up my list first. So my list is about, it depends. So I do all Oklahoma, which is around 3,000. So what I do is I hit all 3,000 first, and then I cycle back 7 times. So like in healthcare, like it takes 7 touches to get someone to quit smoking. With direct mailing, it takes 7 tries to get someone to respond to your letter, right? So that's how it takes persistence, right? So what I did was I sent about 300 or about 1,800 letters, and this one owner, he reached out to me, and like essentially when they call you or text you or email you, you're essentially a stranger. Like I'm just some random Asian guy from Oklahoma or from California, and this lawyer from Oklahoma is calling me about buying his 26 unit. So the lettering and all that's easy, to be honest, but the hard part is negotiating with the owner directly and building trust, right? Like how am I going to get this lawyer from Oklahoma to trust this random Asian dude from California, right? So I have kind of like an interview list questions, about 10 questions to go over. But at a high level, it's just like quick icebreakers, like, oh, like, hey, tell me about the property. People in real estate love talking about real estate, if you haven't noticed from me. So, I talked, we went back and forth. I asked for a T12 and a profit and loss statement. So T12 is a profit and loss statement for the past 12 months. And you want a recent rent roll. And then from there, I analyzed it. And the guy just was like, hey, like, just make me an offer, right? Like, just make me an offer. Like, and then I literally went on the tax assessor's website, and I pulled up the tax assessed price of $500,000. And I just said, oh, I'm going to give you $500,000 for this property. I drafted up an offer letter and gave it to him. And then, and why I do that is because if they ask me, hey, your offer sucks, it's low, I'm like, well, that's what the tax assessed price is. I didn't make it up. That's what the county says is worth, right? So that's one method to making an offer. In my course, I go over three. So the other one is price per unit. So you want to find sales comps on PropStream. So like $50,000 per unit. If it's 20 units, you just times 50,000 by 20. And the other method is net operating income divided by the market cap rate. So those are the three methods. So usually I take the lowest offer of those three, which is usually the tax assessed price, and I make my offer, right? So um, I basically made that offer. He accepted it, and then we basically went under contract. And what's crazy is I used Bank of the West to finance this deal. So it's 25% down, 4% interest, 30 years amortized loan. So this was back in like about a year and a half ago when interest rates were more reasonable compared to what they are today. And it appraised at $750,000 day one. So I literally made $250,000 equity day one, sending letters out. So like even though it costed me money in marketing, I made $250,000 day one, like doing absolutely nothing. Like, I thought California appreciation was good, but if you buy off market deals correctly, that's how much you make, right? And and what's kind of crazy too is like the rents were around $400, and the landlord was covering the utilities. So after utilities, you're netting 300, right? But I did a market analysis with my property manager. The rents can be $700. So as I mentioned, if you can raise the rents by $400, so whip out a calculator, someone for me, 400 times 26 units times 12 months. That's how much money I just increased. What is that? Let me calculate that real quick for this example here. So I take $400 times 26 units times 12 months. I just increased the net operating income by $124,000. If it's an 8 cap market, divide by 0.08, my apartment's now worth $1.6 million. So I bought it for $500,000. It appraised at $750,000 day one. And if I can raise the rents to $700 after renovation, this is worth $1.6 million. And you do a cash out refi at that point, right? You pull out all your down payment, all your renovation costs, and you take out money out of your pocket to go buy another apartment complex. So once you learn that, that's how you scale, right? So that is literally how you scale. So that's exactly what the case is, right? So going back to my example, to give you real numbers, so I got it for $500,000. I got about $60,000 in seller repair credit. So I actually lowered my down payment from 25% to 15% down. So I bought a house 15% down, a 26-unit apartment complex 15% down. And in my course, I talk about how to negotiate seller repair credit, how to do due diligence, all that jazz. So I'm sorry, I'm going a little fast. I do record these sessions, upload on YouTube. But after that, I got my general contractor, who's my property manager, and he said, Steven, you're going to have to spend about $8,000 per unit to renovate it. And what does $8,000 entail? I get brand new kitchen cabinets, laminate countertops, LVP flooring, brand new kitchen, brand new bathroom vanity, brand new bathtub kit, fresh coat of paint. Everything's brand new light fixture, all that stuff, right? And once I put in $8,000 per unit, I can raise the rents from about $400 to $700. So I just finished renovating about 5 units now, and I just rented out a 1 bedroom for $700. And I thought I was going to rent a 2 bedroom for $700. So I think the 2 bedrooms going to be $800 with my renovations. So now my ARV is going to be around maybe 1.6, 1.7, right? After I'm done with all the renovations. So that's kind of my first apartment complex. And then shortly after, about 6 months later, with the same batch of letters that I sent out, I got my second 20-unit apartment complex in Oklahoma. Believe it or not, it's $350,000. I mean, that doesn't even get me a condo in the Bay Area. That gets you like a shack in San Francisco under a bridge. But I got a 20-unit apartment complex for $350,000. This one, a lot of units need a renovation, so it is a bit of a fixer-upper. I had to get a hard money loan. But after I'm done I actually just finished renovating about 5 units today, and the rent is around 600. So I think it's gonna be worth around maybe $800,000 once I'm done, and getting the market rents. And I do a cash out refi, I pull all my money again, right? So that's kind of that. And then my other asset that I own is a 200 lot mobile home park. So I don't really talk about my mobile home park as much because I focus more on apartment complex. But got it for $1 million. To be honest, this one's my thorn on my side. It causes me the most stress, keeps me up at night the most. But honestly, if I'm successful with this mobile home park, it's going to be worth about 9 million. If I'm successful, if I fall on my face, I'm gonna lose 300,000. So in my mind, I'm like, well, I can lose 300,000, but maybe make a couple million. I mean, it's worth the risk possibly. And then today, I'm kind of sitting at around 90 units right now. I don't have any partners. It's just me, and I work full time still. And people ask, well, if I told myself 2 years ago that I'd own 90 units, but I'm still working, I would say that's crazy. I should be retired. But the reality is, it takes about 3 years to stabilize an apartment complex. And when you're spending all this money renovating the units, you need money, right? You need income coming in for your psychology. And mobile home parks gonna take me about at least 6 years to stabilize. So a lot of people think that, wait, how can you own 90 units and still work? And that's the reason why, is because I'm literally renovating units. But I just finished renovating about 10 units. So 10 unit times 700, $7,000 extra in income and cash flow, right? So that's when it starts to really scale up. Um, but yeah, that's just kind of a high level overview about myself and my journey.
Are you working with the same property manager for all your properties? And what came first? Did you find the partner first to manage your property before buying the deals, or did you buy the deals and then you found the property manager?
Yeah, great question, Anthony. So I actually had a really good property manager in Oklahoma already before that's what made me look in Oklahoma in the first place. So what I kind of preach in another session as well as in my course is like a property manager. You can have a good deal and a bad property manager. It's a bad deal. If you have a bad deal and a good property manager, it's a good deal. So literally, property management makes or break your deal. So when people ask me why I chose Oklahoma, and my answer is simple, it's because I had a good property manager there. That's it. If you have a good property manager there, I can scale. So now with that property manager, I can scale to 1,000 units, no issue. I know the area, I know the rents, I know how to renovate it. I have my systems in place. I can easily scale, right? So I don't plan on syndicating right now because to me it's too stressful dealing with other people's money. I don't want people yelling at me about their money, right? I'm buying real estate for freedom. I don't want to buy another job. So that's me personally. But if I told someone that I bought an apartment complex for $500,000, now it's worth $1.6 million, I pulled out all my money plus some, I think I can easily raise money and buy more apartments in Oklahoma City, right? If I want to syndicate, right? So that's what I kind of preach first, is that you want to do a deal yourself first, build your system first, have your team in place, and then syndicate, right? So I would feel a lot more comfortable asking you for money if I'm gonna buy another apartment in Oklahoma because I know the area and I have a team there, and I'm more confident because I know the area, right? Like I can put my money where my mouth is. I own apartments there right now, right? So that's what I kind of preach. A lot of people that syndicate have a connotation that like, oh, I syndicate because I don't have money. I'm like, no, like you should be syndicating because you can actually operate and you've done it before. And because to me, if I lost your money, I'd be more stressed out. Like, to be honest, if I lost $100,000 of my own money, whatever, right? It sucks. I work another year, right? But if I lost your $100,000, I'd keep me up at night. That's not why I do it. So that's why I kind of tell people, some of my videos, I kind of was a little too harsh on syndicators, but you should put your money where your mouth is, right? If the deal's so great, why aren't you in the deal? If the deal's so great, if you need to raise people's money, then you need to find a way to make money yourself first, and build a team and a system and a track record. So that's just my philosophy. I've also seen a lot of people succeed very well. I had a friend, she went from 0 to 1,000 units syndicating it, so so but she only owns about 5% of the 1,000, which is 50 units, right? And I already own 90 by myself. So it's all perspective, right? People like to flex, oh, I own 2,000 units, but you own 1% of 2,000 units. So would you rather own 1% of 2,000 units or just own 20 units yourself? It depends on you, right? What's your cup of tea? Mine is just owning it myself because I want full control over my asset for the rest of my life. Um, cool. Let me just pop in and answer some questions here. So yeah, letters. As I mentioned, you want to hit each person. You want to go through your whole list. So Oklahoma, it's about 3,000. So I want to go through all 3,000 first before I start hitting people again. So for yeah, market cap rate. So you can talk to brokers. You can buy data from CoStar, which is expensive. But if you have a nice broker friend, they can give it to you. But on the appraisal reports, like I got my 26 unit appraised, they tell you the market cap rate on the appraisal reports as well. Um, and so yeah, so as I kind of allude back to the equation, so in Oklahoma, the market cap rate's 8%. So the NOI divide by the market cap rate, so I divide by 0.08. So that's just kind of about my story. And then, as I mentioned before, um, once I kind of learned that apartments are valued based on the NOI divided by the cap rate. So in a single family, you choose cash flow or appreciation. So California is only appreciation, and like Oklahoma is traditionally only cash flow. But with apartment complexes, the more cash flow you have, you increase the NOI, which increases the value. So you get both, right? You can have your cake and eat it too. So, once you kind of understand that concept, it just doesn't make sense to buy single family homes. And I don't knock on single family homes because like what I can do in the future is I can 1031 exchange my single family homes in California and buy apartment complexes in Oklahoma. Right? I have a lot of homes of like $500,000 in equity. I can 1031 exchange that property and buy like a $1.5 million the apartment complex Oklahoma City. Um, yeah, so Kevin, so clearly you watched some of my videos because you. So for seller financing, I have a video talking about the 3 methods of creative finance. So in my course, I preach off market, getting off market deals via direct mailing campaign, and then that ties in with creative financing because when you work directly with the owner, it's easy to negotiate seller financing and you get to build trust, right? Like if I go to a real estate broker and pitch seller financing, they instantly think that, hey, Steven, you have no money. I don't want to work with you. And honestly, most real estate brokers that I know, even if they've been in the industry for like 30 years, they don't know anything. I literally had broker, you can check out one of my other videos. This broker, I analyzed one of his deals that he sent me. He's been a broker for 20 years and his deal is complete garbage. It was complete garbage. It was so overpriced. So, that's why I said you have to learn how to underwrite the deals yourself, right? Like if you want to, like for example, get educated. You can go to YouTube, go to podcasts, watch my sessions, get my course. But once you get educated, that's when you can underwrite for yourself, right? And underwriting is very simple. You take the gross rents, 50% is your expense. I don't care if they say their expense is 30%. That's a lie. It's gonna be 50%. Both my apartment complexes, my expense is 55%. I know that because I own properties and manage it, right? I'm realistic. So, but back to your question. So for the mobile home park deal, so the property is owned free and clear. So I did the did seller carry first. So the seller functioned as a bank. So I bought it for 1.1 million. I downed 10%, so about $100,000. But it's a heavy value add mobile home park. Not to get into the weeds, but I'm bringing in brand new mobile homes at the end of this month for $45,000. It's a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, single wide for 45K, and it rents for $800. But realistically, I want to sell them, right? Because with mobile homes, the loan terms are like a hard money loans, like 8-9% almost, and amortized over about 20 years if you're lucky. So I basically did 10% down, 5% interest only for 5-year term. That's why I negotiate with seller financing. That's what I love about seller financing. You can negotiate your terms. I've negotiated a deal in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where I had 10% down, 5% given at the close of escrow, and 5% 1 year later, and the cash flow of that property would have covered that 5% after year one, right? So that's why I love creative financing because you can do whatever you want. I can say I want to give you 0% down, but I'll overpay you, right? So in my course, I kind of preach your price, my terms. I don't care what price to pay as long as I get my terms and as long as I cash flow. I don't care, right? I don't care what the price is. I'll overpay by $1 million if I need to. If you give me 0% down and give me my terms, right? So I kind of go over a lot more of that in my creative financing session on my YouTube channel. Um, So yeah, that's a little bit about me. I guess I'll just open up to any questions from anybody. Any questions about apartments, mobile home parks, anything? Open book.
Just
Yes.
managing the property managers. I mean, you're bringing homes into the mobile home park, all that little stuff.
Yeah, so obviously, I mean, Charmaine's going through it right now. When you first close on a property and going through all that due diligence, it is a little busier. Like, you have to um, like for my first property inspection, I actually flew out to Oklahoma and I was there in person. But for my second one, because I knew the area, I didn't go to the property inspection. But honestly, at this point, I mean, I've owned all my assets for about almost a year now. Yeah, about a year for my mobile home park, a year and a half for my 26 unit, and about maybe 6 months for my 20 unit. But at this point, like it's pretty automated. To be honest, like I just have weekly touch base calls with my property manager. So actually, in my course, I give out a weekly accountability kind of template that they fill out all these metrics for me. It's all related to like how much rent did you get, what are the expenses, give me a weekly update, and usually I'll talk to them. But then like once you build trust of your property manager, because 9 out of 10 property managers are complete garbage. That's what I talk about in one of my previous sections in my course. So like it takes about 3 to 6 months to know if your property manager is good or not. So the first like month or two, I make them do a weekly accountability reports. But then once you build trust of them, like honestly, at this point, I don't even touch base with my property managers as much if I have that trust with them. But I will like text them periodically and be like, hey, like how's the renovation going? So like honestly, if I were to quantify, I'd probably say like maybe about 15 hours a week. But keep in mind that like I'm pretty like I probably put at least $20,000. I mean 20,000 hours worth of education into real estate. Prior to like owning these. I mean, you don't have to do that. Charmaine's a prime example of that. But so it's about 10 to 15 hours, and like for me, because I'm a pharmacy director, I'm used to managing about 50 pharmacists. So like for me, I'm very good at delegation and like kind of like I implement the 80-20% 80-20% rule. So 20% of my effort produces 80% of my results. So the 20% that I focus on is okay, like what lending am I going to get, right? Like let's just say I'm almost done with my value add plan. Like what am I going to do for my cash out refi? Or like, vetting contractors, or like, just kind of the more high level ticket items. So I don't honestly at this point I don't really spend that much time. Honestly, my two apartment complexes, I probably spend like maybe 2 hours a week. My mobile home park is what's kind of killing me right now because obviously I'm burning a lot more money, and just the logistics of bringing in mobile homes and trying to like it's a lot of work, so many steps. The more steps you have in a process, the more points of failure you have, right? Like bringing in a brand new home, you got to coordinate it with Clayton Homes. They'll deliver it. You have to coordinate with your installer who will install it. You have to coordinate then with your general contractor who will skirt the home, build the deck, and at that point, your property managers are rented out. And then you do 2 homes a month, and then eventually I scale up. So I do 2 homes a month. It'll be 4 homes a month, 6 homes a month, right? So yes, like I said, I do all this while working full time, right? Like you never hear anybody say like, oh, I work full time and own 90 units and manage, and they're 90 units of value add. I'm literally renovating all of these units right now. So it's the busiest it'll be, right? But then it gets easier of time, right? So as I said, after about 3 years, at this point, I should be doing a cash out refi, and maybe I can say, screw you to my boss, right? Who knows? Maybe I can, or maybe I'll just quiet quit, you know. But yeah, that's how much time I spend. I mean, a lot of my communications via email or text. So, like, obviously, if you're at work, you just can respond to your email, or you can step out real quick to do that. Or if you work remotely, which I want to do eventually, you can step out to do that. But the key is like, building your system, right, and having your process. And something unique about me is that like I put a lot of trust into my property manager, my general contractor, and like I trust but verify too, right? Like, someone cannot completely bullshit me. I know the basics, but like they kind of like, because at the end of the day, you're the owner. I can tell you what to do, but they kind of appreciate it when you actually listen to their input. Like I literally told my general contractor, You pick everything on how to renovate it. I just want to make sure that I spend the least amount of money and get the most amount of rent. That's it. Spend the least amount of money, make it renter proof, make it indestructible, and make sure I can get the most rent. That's it. Like,
And you said your property manager is the same as your general contractor, is the
yeah,
same guy?
yeah. So I was fortunate where it was a 2-in-1 for my 26 unit, but for my 20 unit, I have a different property manager and then a different general contractor. But then that property manager referred me to the general contractor. So that's how you do it. So that's why the most important player in your team is your property manager, because they can either be your general contractor for you or connect you to a general contractor who's good, right? But then I still go through interview process, like with my general contractor and my property manager, and I always have three of each, right? So I have a backup, a backup of a backup, a backup of a backup, backup, right? Because if they suck, I need to fire them. Then I have my backup plan in place. So
You have an outside property manager for your mobile home park or just the in-house manager?
yeah, so for mobile home park, it's actually two layered. I have an on-site property manager, an off-site property manager, and then I manage the off-site property manager. So it's a tri-layered there. So I just talk directly with the off-site manager, who then manages the on-site manager. Unless I feel like the off-site manager is not doing her job, then I would just go directly to the on-site. I try to avoid that, but like I said, at the end of the day, they're managing my $500,000 asset here, so there has to be some sort of accountability there. Environmental study on the mobile home park. So I did do an environmental study on mobile home park. So since I seller financed it, I view environmental. So phase one is what Vincent's referring to. A phase one environmental study. So they just do historical data to see if there's any risk of hazardous contamination in the soil. So let's say it was near a gas station, it was near a sewage plant, near whatever, a dry cleaner. So if the phase one doesn't look good, then they recommend a phase two where you actually test the soil. Phase one costs around, oh geez, it's been a while. I want to say about 1,700, and then a phase two is about double that. But if you have a lender, sometimes they might require that. But I typically, for the mobile park, I did it because it was near a gas station, and it's like an insurance policy for me. But my apartment complexes, I didn't do a phase one because they weren't near anything like of concern for me. So, great question. I do go over kind of that in the due diligence module of my course there. So, I hope that answers that question. Any other questions?
I had a question. Are you looking outside of Oklahoma, or you just continue to focus in Oklahoma because you know it so well?
Yeah, I've done this back and forth, but like to me, just the amount of effort it takes to like build a team and system in Tennessee, let's just say, it's just so much work. I'd rather just scale in Oklahoma. I mean, don't get me wrong though, I do want to diversify eventually because you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, right? Like I have single family homes in California, I have apartment complexes in Oklahoma, but like I said, it's just so easy for me to scale in Oklahoma with my team, but yes, eventually I do. Like, let's just say, like, because Oklahoma is like a cash flow market, right? And I'm doing forced appreciation, but let's just say eventually, I do want to scale outside of Oklahoma. But like the system, my direct mailing campaign works any state, right? And then the concepts of real estate are pretty similar, but you just have to find your property manager. So, like, honestly, my next state that I invest in, it's probably just where I have a good property manager again, right? And then from there, that's how you build your team and have your boots on the ground. So, like I said, you don't want to spread yourself too thin, but at the same time, you don't put your eggs in one basket. So it's a fine balance. But like I said, it's so easy for me to scale in Oklahoma City. Like I can literally look at a deal, like the 20 unit, because I had my 26 unit already. I knew already, like the price he wanted. I already buy it. Like I already know I was gonna buy it without even seeing anything else. And then like once you know the area, it just gets easier and easier like to work with brokers. Like I say, hey, Mr. Broker, I own like 100 units in this market. Send me deals. Maybe it'll be good. Um, Hope that answers your question there, Tony.
Yes, it did. Thanks.
Any other questions?
Stephen,
Yeah.
Yeah, just a question about your property managers that you're working with. Are they a really large property management firm, or do they specialize in the local area?
Yeah, great question. So in my course, I emphasize that you want to work with a medium-sized property manager. And what's medium-sized? That's about 400 to 1,000 units under management. And why medium is because if you're less than 400, it's a mom and pop operator. So they don't have systems in place. They don't have like Appfolio, Buildium, Rent Manager. They don't have like an in-house like contractor and whatnot. And if you're above 1,000, you're just a small fish, right? Like let's say someone manages 5,000 units and I only have 20 units, they're not going to take you seriously. You're just a number, right? But if you're at that like 400 to 1,000, that's what I preach. Um, and I kind of make it known to them like, hey, like this is the first property that I'm working with you, but like I want to scale with you, right? I want to scale to 500 units, and then you'll be at 1,500 units. Let's scale together, right? So I kind of make that very clear. And then like what's kind of nice about the medium size is because they know you and they like working with me. Like my property manager, if another owner wants to sell their property, who do you think they bring the deal to first? They bring it to me because they like working with me, right? And that's how you get an off-market deal. I spent zero spend on marketing. They bring me a deal. They give me the lowdown how the property works, and then when I buy, I don't have to transition property management, right? So like it's just so much easier to do that. So that's what I preach in my course. And then obviously you want them to be local, right? Like they need to have like boots on the ground. Like for my 20 unit, my property management company can literally walk to my 20 unit apartment complex. Like they're that close. They can literally walk there during lunch to like take pictures for me. So,
Great.
you do want them, and they need to know their market specific. Like I literally had a really good deal in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but I got like amazing. It was like 2.6 million. I forgot 2.2 million, 50 units, great cash flow. He was going to do seller financing with 10% down, 5% year one, 5% the year after that. I brought the deal to property manager, and he was like, "Yeah, that area is called Homicide Alley." I was like, "Okay, that's why the deal is good because it's in a garbage area. It's in a bad area. I don't want to buy it anymore." Right? So he just saved me time, right? Like if I just brought him the deal out the gate, I would have not wasted my time because I don't. You never compromise location. You can fix a property, but you can't fix the location, right? If
Right.
it's a bad area, if it's a nice property in a bad location, it doesn't matter. No one wants to live there, right?
Yep.
Um, so yeah, that's what I preach in my course. And then, like I said, I interviewed around 30 or about 20 property managers, and I picked my top three. So,
Okay.
like, as I mentioned, I have like a quick. I interviewed so many pharmacists, but I created like a quick interview checklist for property management, general contractors, um,
Yeah.
all that.
Did you work with a mentor or someone to give you the push to take the leap of faith? Because I can go through analysis paralysis. I'm going through that right now. I'm kind of scared because I don't have a core team that I'm comfortable with or someone that can guide me through the process. I'm just learning through online, YouTube stuff, and like through interventions like your course right now,
Mhm.
or this webinar. So, is there anyone that you like looked up to that kind of gave you the push to take the leap of faith?
I mean, as I mentioned earlier, like I said, a lot of people get stuck in paralysis analysis. Like, I started investing back in 2017, right? But some people, I had a mastermind group of people that want to do it too. But 5 years later, I own 90 units. They still don't own anything, right? So, like, there's an opportunity cost of staying on the sideline in my mind, right? Look at interest rates. They're high now. Look at home prices. They're going up, right? Like, if you stay on the sideline, that's when you lose. So, to me, because I know that, I actually view it as riskier to not be investing versus standing on the sideline, right? But then, to your point, so I joined a couple, like about three mentorships, and to be honest, they were okay. I mean, they kind of, what I didn't like about it is they didn't really create community. So it did inspire me a bit to create my own course and mentorship. So I have one, that I just launched about a month ago, and the education style is very similar to kind of what I'm doing right now. I'm just I simplify it, I dumb it down. If you watch all my videos, the difference between my sessions versus my course is like this is kind of like a cliff notes. So it's kind of like an outline, but the actual course is about 120 modules, and it goes step by step, A through Z, and how to do it. So like everything that I just glossed over, there's a module for that. So it's about 120 videos, and I literally set you up with like the whole system that I used to do it because I found my first deal in about 6 months, right? Following the system, but then like my goal is to expedite that for people, right? In terms of the education and just following the process and taking action, right? So like what I tell all my students is that if you want to get a deal, just send letters out every month. Because when you send letters out every month, people will call you, pick up your phone, and when you pick up your phone, you're going to analyze deals, and when you analyze deals, you're going to make offers, and when you make offers, eventually you'll get a deal under contract, right? So by sending letters and putting money where your mouth is, it forces you to commit, right? So half the time, mentorship is just holding people accountable, right? Like, hey, did you send your letters out? Did you respond? And just take consistent action. So, like, for me, I've always been very action oriented. Like, I'm the type to jump out of an airplane and build a parachute as I'm flying down, right? And Charmaine's is the same exact way. That's how she got 35 units in a month, right? So, um, so sometimes, but to be fair, like, yes, you do want like someone a mentor to kind of help guide you, right? So, unfortunately, I did have a mentor who did real estate for apartment complex specifically for a long time. So I kind of just followed his path, his system, and he kind of helped me navigate and avoid some pitfalls. But at the end of the day, you only learn by doing, right? So I learned a lot by doing it. So I'm sharing a lot of mistakes I've made to like in my course on these sessions so that you don't make the same mistake, right? So like there's a lot of concepts that like it's stressful, right? Like I'm sure Charmaine's going through right now. Like when you take over a property, there's so many things going on. They change the utilities. Tenants they're gonna stop paying you. You're gonna have capex. They're gonna start making requests for all these repairs. Everything's gonna go wrong. Everything that you think will go wrong will go wrong. I bought my 20 unit apartment complex. I had to fumigate all 20 units with bed bugs. It cost me $10,000. Right? I did an inspection. They said there's no pests. I took over. There's bed bugs. A guy was letting homeless people sleep in his unit. So that's what led to bed bugs after I closed on the property, right? So, it's just really having someone kind of guide you, hold your hand, and walk you through it, right? So, since I had that, I kind of want to give back. So, certainly, I give out, like I said, a lot of nuggets and tips on these sessions, but just the course is just a more organized, more thorough session. That's all. That's the only difference. And there. So yeah. I just would say just take the leap. And like I said, in my mind, my apartment complex is less than a single family home in California. So like to me, I think it's less risky. It's like $500,000. That gets me a condo here in LA. So versus now I own 26 units, right? And if I tell people my 26 units is $500,000, people think I'm lying. I'm a scam. So but I literally own it. You can look at the tax record. I'm on the record. So yeah, hope that answers the question there. So yeah, I just recommend just start analyzing deals on LoopNet and reaching out to brokers, and then if you're really serious about getting a good deal, then start doing a direct mailing campaign and then learn how to underwrite deals. You can attend all these sessions. I basically go through it more slowly, but definitely go through how to underwrite. I think I underwrote. Ironically, I underwrote Charmaine's 35 unit deal in another session, and I underwrote another deal sent to me by a broker. So just watch that, and then you can kind of see at a high level how I underwrite it. To me, underwriting takes about 5 minutes, and you'll quickly know if it's worth pursuing or not. That's it. Hope that answers your question there, Anthony. Cool. Any other? I have time for one more question. One last question before Google kicks me off.
When are you going to quit your day job? How many units do you quit your day job?
Yeah, so like my fat fire goal is 20K a month net. At that point, I would quit my day job, but knowing me, I'd probably just like maybe quiet quit until they fire me once I hit that goal. But I think with my current portfolio of 90 units, like I said, my mobile home park is 200 capacity for 200. So if I fill it up, I'll have like 250 units. Honestly, I think I can hit my goal with just my current portfolio. But obviously, if you do cash out refi, then your debt service increases, so your net cash flow isn't that strong. But my goal was 35, but I got a little humbled, recently. So I'm trying to make my expectations like, hopefully like around in about 8 years, hopefully for me, like prior to being 40. That's my goal to retire. But like I said, it kind of like when you work, you have to be a business owner because there's no way I can physically like manage my properties and do all this stuff. Right? I can't micromanage when I'm busy, right? So in a weird way, it's a blessing in disguise for me. So yeah, that's my goal. But like I said, it's nice having income coming in because I'm writing like big checks every month for renovations. It's psychologically is not good, right? You're writing like $50,000 checks every week for renovations. It just kind of messes with you, right, a little bit. So it's just nice having some income coming in there. So cool. Thank you everyone for hopping on today. Like I said, if you have any questions about the course, the mentorship, or if there's a certain topic that you want me to talk about, just shoot me an email. I believe everyone has my email here. If not, I can give it to you. And like I said, this session I'm hosting every Wednesday at 7 p.m. I'm thinking of adding a Saturday session for the East Coast people because I know it's late in the East Coast. So thank you so much. And like I said, hope to see you guys next Wednesday.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thanks,
so
Stephen.
much.
Thanks,
Okay,
Patrick.
thank you, Steven.
Have a
Goodbye.
good one.
Thank you. Bye.